He doesn't really need any introduction. Here's Mike Wyckoff.
Hardy. Oh, thank you. Wow, that wasn't what I wrote. No, thank you. I know, right? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Wyckoff. For those of you who do know me, sorry, and I'm glad you're back. Just a little about me. I'm a real estate broker with Engel Volkers. I have 2 shops. I have 1 shop officially now. The other one is in the Gulf of Mexico mostly. So I am Gulf of America. Thank you. In the Gulf of whatever it is today. So I am living through this storm damage issue right alongside a lot of our clients. I'm also immediate past president of whatever our association is now named, which I was the president of Pro in 2023. And I'm on Florida Realtor Directors and NAR Directors Board. So I try to bring what I can to you guys from those perspectives to try and help you out. And I'm a broker with about 30 advisors under me. So hopefully I can bring some stuff to you that's of value. We're here to talk a bit about selling damaged homes. I do have a couple notes that I want to refer to, but before that, just a couple things that I know burning in people's minds because I've been dealing with them. I was just at Florida Realtors. The upcoming legislative session for the state of Florida is going to address, again, the condo legislation. It's not going to be sweeping changes, I can tell you that based on what I know. And the legislators that I've talked to, but there are going to be some changes made. Some things like extending deadlines, perhaps, adding some teeth to the regulation, because right now the regulations say you have to have your milestone and SIRS done by a certain period. If you don't, oh well, it's kind of what it says. Like there's no if then. The then got left off. It's just you have to do this, and what if I don't? I'm not sure. So they're going to put something in there that there's some sort of a penalty potentially for that. But I think they're going to extend the horizon for upping the reserves because it's been kind of oppressive on people, especially in their 55 and up communities, where all of a sudden you've got to be fully funded with your reserves. It was supposed to happen by the end of the year last year, and that's what drove up a lot of maintenance fees, really extremely high, as well as adding to some big assessments that were levied. And the hardest hit in this area is our 55 and up community. I had the opportunity to speak in Fort Lauderdale. Senators Pizzo and Bradley asked me to come down there and talk on a panel of experts about condos. There were engineers, there were HOA managers, there were HOA attorneys. And we had about 500 people in attendance that were all different legislative aides and from different organizations. Went really well, and I was impressed that they did that they asked for our input. They specifically asked for professionals' input before crafting legislation. That doesn't always happen. We finally got in their ear to say, you guys screwed up, let us help you fix it. So they're trying to let us help them fix it. So Great American Realtor Days is coming up. If any of you are inclined to be involved in that, I encourage you to do so. It's your chance to get on Capitol Hill in Tallahassee and make your voice known, make the realtor voice known. It's the first week of March. It's a late legislative session this year. So that's one of the things they're going to take up. And for fun, if you're a nerd like me, you can go on the Senate bill trackers and you can look up real estate and you can find everything related to real estate that they're talking about in the Senate and the House, and you can track those bills. And it's really nerdy, but it's kind of cool, right? But you can see what our legislators are talking about, how it travels through committees, the changes that are made, modifications. One thing they are not taking up this year is the vacation rental bill that they've been trying to push through for like 5 years. So anyway, that's our legislative update. Our main thing we're going to talk about is flooded houses. Okay, so a couple notes. I am living through this with our clients. As I said, my office was substantially damaged. It is now gone. So I have a vacant lot if anybody's interested in Gulf Boulevard and Madeira Beach. So we've circled the wagons and working out of Tampa predominantly, but it's been really trying for the people that have gone through it. If you're going through it, I'm sorry. I hope things go well for you. Keep your head up and keep trying. I will tell you the best piece of advice I can give you is when you need to interact with the city, just be nice to them. They're getting yelled at from every angle, and they're almost powerless because of the way the hierarchy has been set up through FEMA, through the state FDEM, Tidal Basin, Pinellas County, all those different organizations that are breathing down their throats. They really have almost no power to do anything. They become clerical in nature, and they really want to help their residents, but they're kind of hamstrung. And if you start yelling at them, it's not going to help. I can tell you, because I tried that, and it didn't work. So now, once I got... Yesterday we went in like, please, anything you could do. Our permit, the thing was all jacked up from the contractor. And he said, here's where it's wrong, here's where it's wrong, here's where it's wrong. You need to do this, this, and this. He goes, let me fix it for you. Fixed my permit, handed me the permit, said, go to work. So thankfully, on one property. It should not take 5 months to get your permit, but it is. So right now, from the realtor perspective, I would encourage you, and that's one of the things I want to lobby for, is some level of organization that on the state level is ready to mobilize instead of letting all the municipalities try to figure it out on their own. There's a failure, cataclysmic failure on the municipalities level. They were completely unprepared for a devastating situation like this. But it's also unfair to take a municipality like, I live in Madeira Beach, 3,500 residents, to get them to be able to do everything that needs to be done to fix it. There should be something on the state or federal level that's mobilized, boom, that comes in and says, this is the process. FEMA was amazing at helping when it came to water, shelter, tarps, food, bathrooms, shower trailers, those kind of things. They were great at that. They've been a complete failure on all the other stuff. And that's why they're finding themselves in the crosshairs of whatever organization is hunting them right now. But these things were abject failures, and they need to be worked on. So it really showed how poorly they performed. I mean, you saw it in North Carolina. They're still mired down in red tape. California got hit with the wildfires. I mean, they're suffering too. We're not the only ones. So although they did not mention us at the Super Bowl, I was really a little bit pissed about that. So the subject at hand is what to do with damaged houses. I've been selling a lot of damaged houses since this started. I decided when this happened and I drove by and saw my office had collapsed, I kind of fell into the fetal position on the floor and went, what am I going to do? Am I going to go broke? This is going to be miserable. And kind of like when we went through COVID, just one day I woke up and I said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to come out in front of this thing somehow and figure out how to make it work and help my neighbors. I've lived in Madeira Beach since I was 12 years old, so kind of take it pretty seriously, and I love my little town, so I actually teamed up with a competing broker and said, if you and I can work together, we can show everybody else that we can work together. Maybe it heals the city a little bit. So the first thing we did right after the storms was a town hall. We did it at the Daiquiri deck. We had 450 people show up with like 4 days notice, and there was another 1,000 people online watching it on Facebook Live. So obviously that was a good thing. People wanted to hear that. So we've done 3 more since then. I did a few videos. One of them's got almost 1 million views at this point from some YouTube clown that contacted me, but it took off. So the need is out there, so I'm kind of doing these things around to help you be ambassadors for that too when you find yourself in these damaged homes. Everyone is completely unique. The biggest bit of information or advice I can give you is to ask a lot of questions. Go in prepared, bring your notebook, bring your iPad, whatever, take notes. Every single situation you're going to enter into, every home you're going to walk into that's been damaged is completely unique. Unique in how much damage it suffered. Unique in whether they're financially qualified to move on or rebuild or what they're going to do. So some of the questions you need to ask them include, do you have insurance? You would be amazed at how many people don't have flood insurance that live in a flood-prone area. It's crazy. On another side, we need flood insurance reform. 70% of FEMA flood claims are from homes that are in not high hazard areas, that are X zones. 70% of the claims. Got to be something done. They're not paying flood insurance premiums, but they're getting benefits. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. Okay, so do you have insurance? Yes or no? Have you started your claim? Is your claim being paid? All these things will come into play in deciding if or how you're going to market that property for sale. Do you have a mortgage? That's going to be important. If a flood claim is being paid and there's a mortgage on the property, that check's going to be made out to the homeowner and the mortgage company. They're going to have to deal with that, right? So it could play out very differently depending on whether they have a mortgage or not. Typically with flood insurance, if you don't have a mortgage, the flood insurance company will pay your claim directly to you and not require you to make the repairs. Unlike the typical homeowner's insurance policy. If you have a wind policy and your roof gets damaged, they generally won't give you the money until after you've had the repairs made. So the flood insurance is different. So this comes into play when you're helping the client decide whether or not they're actually going to keep the property and rebuild it or they're going to sell it. Because if they're getting a $150,000 flood claim, but what's the market's appetite going to be for a single-story home on the water or in a flood zone that's a repetitive loss property? Are they going to want to take that $150,000 and stick it back in the house? Or do they want to put that $150,000 in the bank, put the house up for sale at a discounted rate, essentially land value, maybe just a little bit more, and cut and run. So these are all part of the decision-making process, and I'm trying to encourage you to be their guide for this, right? It's not all about sales. I have walked away from more houses in the last couple months talking them out of selling than I ever have in my life. It's like the antithesis of being the sales guy, but it was just the right thing to do. Do you want to even rebuild if you can? You got to get their mindset, right? It's all about qualifying your customer. Our mortgage guys know that. And we all should know that too, but more so our mortgage people. You've got to qualify the customer, see what their goal is, what they're trying to accomplish. Do you want to rebuild? Have you gotten your substantial damage letter? Believe it or not, almost 5 months into this, probably 40% of the people with damaged homes still have not gotten their letters telling them if they can or cannot rebuild their home. I know in Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, about half the letters that have been received are wrong. I talked to a guy, he's standing in his house talking to me. He's living there with the walls cut out 3 feet. Everything's working. He gets a substantial damage letter that says his house is 97% damaged. He's got a roof, he's got windows, he's got doors, he's got water, he's got showers that work, his toilets work. He's got electric. He had an electrician come out and fix his outlets so they wouldn't shock him or anything. So he's got a safe place with a roof over his head. And they're saying he's 97% damaged. Like, that would mean you have like a quarter of your slab left and there's nothing else. So these things are wrong, and this goes back to my thing where somebody failed us on the government level. Okay, have you received your actual cash value appraisal? Do you know where your FEMA letter is? Have you seen your FEMA letter? Jeff can attest to this. He's done some actual cash value appraisals. It's different than a market value appraisal. I have so many people say, well, last year my house was worth $1.4 million, so I could do $700,000 worth of work to it. No, you can't. You got to get the structural value, and I'm probably preaching to the choir. You guys probably already know this, but in case there's one person that doesn't, it's the structural value, the depreciated value of the structure that they're going by to determine how much work you can do under the FEMA 50% rule. Has nothing to do with market value, almost nothing. So pictures are important. If you're going to get them to do an actual cash value appraisal and engage an appraiser, get pictures. I mean, I don't care if they're your family pictures from Christmas, but it shows what the inside of your house looked like, because that's the basis on which they're going to factor their depreciation, right? So, for example, my office had it, God rest its soul, right? It was built in 1938. If we were doing straight line depreciation on that from 1938, it would be depreciated down to almost zero. But there's been upgrades. Air conditioning, electric, flooring, plumbing, windows, roof, furniture, fixtures, all that. Then if I show those pictures, now I have a much higher value of that structure because there's much less depreciation, right? So all those things are important when you're counseling your clients to talk to you about if or when they're going to build. Super basic question, what do you want to do? Some people don't know. So just like we have been encouraging people for years and years, have a buyer consultation to understand what their wants, needs, and goals are. Same thing here when we're talking about selling a damaged house. Like, what's your plan A and what's your plan B? And see how we can work to do that. Do you even want to rebuild the house? I mean, I had a lady, she was 90-something, she was 86 years old, 87 years, whatever, Lois, great lady. She owned the house she was the original owner of the house, 1958. No one's ever lived in this house but her. Wow. New roof, new windows, new electrical. She had put new air conditioning in, had a new dock, new seawall, everything. House floods, boom. And she said, Mike, get me the H out of here. I'm out. I don't want this anymore. So, but Lois, you can get your house fixed for like 120 grand and you'll be back in business. She goes, and then next year, what happens? I'm 86 years old and I don't want to wait a year. I might not make it that long. I want to go somewhere safe and comfortable, get me the hell out of here. So that's what we did. It would not have been my counsel to sell it right at that moment as is, because in my opinion, she got a lot less than she could have. But her goal was to get the hell out of there. So we got her out of there. She bought a condo. She's happy. She got out of her motel room that she was living in, and she's a happy camper. And wrote me the nicest card afterwards and sent me a box of chocolates. So it was really nice. And then I get calls from people around the neighborhood. Hey, I just ran it. Who's talking to me about Brian? Where'd she go? Danae. Danae was talking about my friend Brian. The Spice and Tea Exchange in John's Pass. He called me. He's like, I got one of your clients here. She thinks you're the greatest. They FaceTime me over the holidays when I was in North Carolina. So I got to see her again. It was really cool. So you can do things for people and make money and make them happy and help them. That's what we're here for, right? So did you get the actual cash value appraisal? Second prong of that is if they got their substantial damage determination letter and they were over 50% damaged, you can appeal that if they want to try and rebuild their house. The way to appeal it is get the actual cash value appraisal and then get a contractor's estimate that shows the repair cost to be less than 50% of that, 49% or less. So, you walk them through the process and you can be their guide there and help them. And then I can just give you an example. I had one, I completely talked them out of selling the house. They referred 2 of their neighbors to me, and I sold both of their houses. So, did I lose one? Maybe I could have probably talked them into selling it, but it wasn't the right thing for them. And they appreciated the candor that and the resources that I helped them with, and then referred me to people who absolutely wanted out. If you want to sell now, as is, what are your plans? I mean, here's a chance for you to maybe sell them something else, right? Or refer them to your lending partner because they might need that bridge loan to get out of what they're into where they're going. You just throw it up there. So that's why, each one of these is unique. Can you see how each one of these questions sends you down a different path? And it's not just if A, then B. If A, then B, then C goes over here and D's over here. There's all these different trails to take. And it's just going to depend on where your client is in the lending situation, insurance situation. Yes, sir?
Because you're living it, right? Are you seeing statistically people are more willing to stay than go?
It's a really mixed bag, and there's no way to paint that picture with one brush. The question was, are we seeing more people wanting to stay or go? There are some people that are just like, I am not doing this ever again. And I don't care. I pack my crap, and I'm out. I had one lady call me. She's like, I'm on I-75. I'm driving to North Carolina. I'm not coming back. Put a sign in my yard. I don't give a crap what you get for it. Like, coincidentally, still for sale too. She really does give a crap what we get for it. and it's currently overpriced. But that was the story at the beginning. But the example was, she's out. Like, I'm never coming back. I don't care if I ever come to Florida again. Then there are other people like me. I don't care what happens. I'm staying. I love my little town, right? Yeah. My house didn't get knocked down because I'm on stilts, thankfully. Lost all my stuff in the garage and my favorite car. But that's okay. And my office, I'm going to rebuild it. So it just depends on their mindset, right? Some people are just like, no, I got family. I'm seeing a lot of people going to like North Carolina, Tennessee, North Georgia, just getting the hell out of here. This to me was fast forward gentrification, right? It just took what was happening and hit, if you remember cassette tapes, hit that fast forward button. Whoop, we're right on down the line. We just jumped 5 years in 1 2-week period.
I already had one client sell off her house in TI, went back up north, didn't like it, came back here and bought a condo already.
Well, yeah, there's that too. There's that too, for sure. So if you can rebuild, will you? That's another question. If you could, is it worth it to you? Other people are saying, well, I could rebuild, and then it was a once in a 100-year storm, but the next 100 years starts this year. What if it hits in the first year instead of the 100th year? Yeah. Right? Do I live with that stress over my head? So that's my question right now that I cannot answer. And the clients continuously ask for this. What's my house going to be worth when I'm done remodeling it? I don't know, because there aren't any that have been done yet. The permits have been so slow. Work's been slow. I'm sure you're seeing it with labor and materials. And getting permits and all that drag. So no one has completed, that I'm aware of right now, a single story like block ranch house on the water or in a flood zone that's been renovated and put it up for sale and closed on it. I haven't seen any yet. I look every single day. Haven't seen one yet. So what's the appetite for that? The main question is what's it going to look like, a couple months from now when these houses start to sell? Just don't know. The other question that's been coming up, will flood insurance go way up? Technically, it shouldn't. Having a flooding event shouldn't drive your flood insurance to go up because it's all based on actuarial figures, right? And that NFIP risk is spread across a broad market from coast to coast in the United States. So technically, your flood insurance shouldn't go up dramatically. It's slated to go up a certain percentage every year anyway through the NFIP. It shouldn't go up much more than that, if at all. So that's one little question. Even with a claim, yeah. Unlike your other policies, I will tell you though, where are insurance people in the room? Insurance people? No, it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. But something for our realtor people to talk about when they're talking with their clients. If you have multiple insurance claims, you could be setting yourself up to not be able to get insurance on your next property, right? They are tracking serial claimants now. If you have too many insurance claims against you, it's kind of like driving a car. You keep driving into walls, they're going to stop giving you car insurance, right? Or you keep banging into stuff, you're a bad risk. If you're a serial claimant, your ability to get insurance is going to be severely diminished, or the cost is going to go up severely. So that's something to ask when you're working with buyers. Have you had many insurance claims? Add that to your list in your buyer interview now, because it's coming up. And a lot of it's related to this storm. Flood insurance, not such a big deal because it's all coming, 95% of it's coming from the NFIP. But if they went, yeah, no, I might as well throw a claim on there for Milton because I lost a shingle. Now you got a claim open. You didn't meet your deductible, so you got nothing, but you still got a claim. And then you did a wind claim for Helene too, just for the hell of it. Now you got 2 in a month. So be careful with that stuff. Am I wrong? No. Okay, just checking, because if I say something wrong, call me out. I don't want to get bad intel. If you're dealing with a house that you're going to sell, that people they decide I'm out, especially waterfront stuff. The features at that property mean a lot now, and I don't mean a lot; they mean a big number. Waterfront houses. Look at the seawall. Is it newer? Is it older? Big deal. $500 to $600 a linear foot to replace the seawall. Does have a dock. If the dock's trashed, it's going to cost $5,000 to $10,000 to pull that dock out of there. Another $20,000 to $50,000 to build it back, depending on the size. Does it have a boat lift? That's a $25,000 add-on. Does it have a swimming pool? Is the swimming pool functional? Is the swimming pool broken? Is the swimming pool finished? Is it workable? If that has to come out, that just adds another $20,000 onto the cost of a $50,000 to $75,000 swimming pool. If it doesn't have a swimming pool, cool, but you need to factor that into what the value of the dirt is. Is the house structurally okay to build on top of? That's not for you to decide, but it's something to think about. You may have the sellers get an engineer in there to decide, to tell them whether they can use that as a foundation to go up, or if it needs to be leveled. I do not recommend you telling anyone to tear their house down to make the lot look pretty. It's not a good idea unless you're absolutely certain that everything is conforming on that property and that the house is of no value. There are cases, some of the wood frame houses, they're useless, right? They have no future value. You can't build on top of them. But a concrete block structure on a slab may be okay. They might just have to add some underpinning and add a little bit to the footers, so they can use that as a foundation to go up and save the new owners some money. So if you just ahead of time rip down the house, you may be doing a disservice to yourself as a client or to your client. The second part of that prong is on the beaches. Many of the city codes and ordinances were put in place after the properties had been built many years ago. Like Madeira Beach started in the 30s. The codes didn't come along until the 70s. So we have lots, and Sunset Beach, another prime example. There are lots on Sunset Beach that are 35 by 40, 35 by 35, 40 by 40, 42 by 28. I mean, there's all these weird things. And they got a house on them. If you tear that house down, you lose all the grandfathering that house brought to you, that structure brought to you. So now, once it's scraped and clean, and you have a blank slate and you want to build a new house, you got to conform to all the new building codes, including the setbacks. So let's take one, if you're familiar with Madeira Beach, by Dockside Dave's, 147th Avenue. There's a lot of lots back in there that are 40 by 50. How big of a house can you put on a 40 by 50 foot lot with a 20-foot rear setback, a 20-foot front setback, and 15-foot side setbacks? You could keep your lawnmower there. That's pretty much it, right? You got nothing. You could build a porta potty on stilts. There's nothing you can build on that. Now, they have to let you build. They have to grant you variances to build something if it's a platted lot. They can't prohibit you from building a house. But in most cases, a lot of those have very narrow setbacks. They encroach in the front or rear setback. If you leave the structure, go apply for a new permit. They'll let you build in the same footprint on stilts. Big deal. Multifamily zoning. I can give you several examples, but just to let a 50 by 100 foot lot in Madeira Beach, many of them have duplexes and triplexes on them. That 50 by 100 foot lot by code now can only have one unit put on it because you need 5,000 square feet of dirt to build a single unit. You need 6,500 square feet of dirt to build 2 units. So I'm the chairman of the planning commission for Madeira Beach, so we get people coming for variances all the time. We got to go, sorry, can't do it. There's no hardship. You created this. You tore the house down, right? So we become the bad guys. Don't make me the bad guy. Don't tear the house down. If you come to the building department with a plan to build a duplex and there's a duplex there, they will let you build a duplex. If you tear the duplex down and show them what a nice pretty lot you have that's all graded and flat and put sod down, they're going to say you can only build one unit. That severely diminishes the value of that lot, right? Because dirt ain't cheap out on the beaches. So if you can get 2 units on it, it's worth a lot more than a single unit. Make sense? People are saying, what does it cost to tear a house down? Depends on the structure, depends on the size. The typicals, if it's a frame house, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, it's going to be $15,000 probably to tear it down. Concrete block structure, 2,000 square footish, you're going to be looking at 15 to 20,000 to tear it down. And just make sure there's no asbestos. Jesus. That's all I really have formally. What do you got for questions? It could be condos, bombed out houses, whatever you want to know, or where the market's headed.
What are you talking about elevating Florida? Are you the expert on elevating Florida?
Right now I am not. I have it. I literally printed it out the other day, and I will become that. And I'll be happy to come back once I really get it soaked into this noggin of mine here. I'll be happy to come back and talk about it. There is a similar project going on in Treasure Island. It was called Elevate TI. They wanted to raise the entire city by 6 feet, and then the mayor quit. But there's three commissioners still trying to do something. It would add to the cost of building a new house about $150,000 cost to building a new house to meet their requirements. They want everyone to add like 3 to 4 feet of fill dirt to their property and build a retaining wall around it until the entire city has built up. And essentially, if you then violated, or if you were going for a remodel permit, they would all be denied. And you'd have to go up if you're on a single-story house. It is completely oppressive, and there's an election in a couple weeks, and they need to get the right people in there because there's 3 in favor of it out of 5 right now. And it's going to cost the city millions and millions, and it's going to cost every homeowner at least $100,000 when they go to redo their house, which then, you know what that means? It takes $100,000 off the value of what's sitting there on every resident. And unless every resident complies with it, it doesn't work. If one person in Treasure Island has a property that doesn't do this, the whole thing doesn't work for the whole city. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Well, that one would be just wonderful.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So I will get to long answer to a short question. Yeah, I'll become your guy, but I haven't fully got it yet. It's working though. Where's the market going? That was one of the things I forgot to say. I hope not, but I think we're going to start seeing some short sales and foreclosures coming. I don't think it's going to be a huge number because of the run-up in values we've had. But for the people that have bought in the last 3 to 4 years that were at the top of the market post-COVID, especially waterfront properties, overinflated prices, it's not going to affect people that didn't get flooded because they don't have to sell. But the ones that are flooded, now, I talked to one the other day, they owe $750,000 and their house is trashed and they're getting like $90,000 from their insurance company. That's not going to be enough to fix the house up. And they got a substantial damage letter, so they're hoping they can get out of it. And they don't really want to repair it. They'd rather go up, but they can't afford to because they don't have the finances to do it. Because now they owe $750,000 on what's a $600,000, $550,000 lot, and they're going to spend $1 million to build. And they can't afford it from a qualifying perspective, right? Interest rates are higher, and it's more expensive, right? The cost of ownership, plus the value of the house is going to go up. Okay, another question. Another statement, sorry. If a person has a house that they tear down and want to build up, will their property taxes go up? Maybe. The answer is maybe. The Pinellas County property appraiser said if you build a house that's newly FEMA compliant and it's within 110% of the heated square footage of your previous property, you will not have an increase in your taxes.
Yay, Mike Twitty!
Yeah, Mike Twitty's a good guy. He's a realtor too. He's a realtor member of our boards. He's a nice guy. So 110%. So you get a little bit of fluff. You got a 2,000 square foot house. You can go up 2,200 square feet. You will not see an increase in your property taxes, even though your house is going to be worth more. Now, when you sell it, it's going to reset, of course. But while you own it, right? Second danger thing, if you have people that are doing their owner permits, they're pulling their own permits to do work on the house, be their own general contractor, they cannot sell or rent their house for a year from the time their permit's closed. That's a state statute. Bad news, right? Get a licensed contractor to do your work every time.
Does it allow time for it to burn down if they did something wrong?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was to stop wholesalers and flippers from filling out the seller's disclosure saying, I don't know anything about the house, I never occupied it, even though I touched every inch of it and remodeled it, supposedly. And they did a crappy flip job and wires are backwards and the air conditioning was, put it on air conditioning, it comes on heat, right? All the bad things that people have done. This gives it a year to season so that the house either burns down and it's their problem or it's still standing and it's okay. So owner permits, be really careful. That's another question to ask. Hey folks, did you do any work on your own under this permit? You know, that where you pulled the permit in your name and you're acting as your own GC. Can't sell the house for a year. Now, if they're going to tear the house down, you're going to be okay. You can sell it. But if they're going to try and keep the house, it's going to take a year. I know there's some questions. Yeah.
So folks that do have a mortgage and they've gotten a check and they've signed off on it, it's now the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. And the mortgage company says, hey, as soon as you fix the house, you get paid. Yeah. How about the folks that don't have money?
Right.
Yeah, so that's something you have to negotiate with your bank. And again, that's the question. And you know, sometimes you have to get a little invasive. As realtors, we don't always want to get really deep into their finances. But in order to help them now, we kind of do. You know, how much do you owe? I owe $200,000. How much you get from the insurance company? $200,000. Guess what's going to happen? Mortgage company is going to say, we're going to pay off our note. Then you can go do what you need to do. So then you got to go talk to your lender and borrow the money for the renovation. Right?
I didn't know they had that option.
Yeah. You got to negotiate it with them. Or you say, hey, I'm going to sell the house as is. Give me my money and I'll pay you off when I sell. Maybe they'll let you do that. Or you work out something in the middle where they give you some of it so you have expense, so you can use money for a down payment for a new house, whatever, right? So that all those things come into play. You can see where there's so many tentacles that come out of this, and it's really a complex situation. I'm available. I'll leave my card up here. I'm happy to help any of you there's no strings attached. I want to help you get your clients through this stuff. Yeah.
So I just want to reiterate something that you touched on a little bit. As somebody who does the cash value appraisals, I cannot emphasize the importance of pictures.
Yeah.
Okay? And as advocates for your clients, for those of you who work on the beach, flood zones and everything, you have to tell these people to take pictures. If you know there's a storm coming, take a picture of every single room. I don't care if it's dirty,
Yep.
I don't care if they're...
Walk through with your video, something.
But it is so vitally important because as the appraiser, we base the value on the depreciation of that property. So if you can show me good pictures of everything updated, then your depreciation is going to be less than if your house is from 1950 and you've never done anything to it. So as an advocate to your client, let them know if a storm's coming, even if it's on the East Coast, still take pictures because you never know if we're going to get a storm surge.
Right.
And so many people are dealing with that right now that they're not able to prove what their house looked like before the storm, and so they're having a big issue with trying to get the money that they need.
Yep.
Question on that is, are your cash appraisals helping to sell homes? Because I had a home that was on the market for about a week, got a little bit of water in it, drive right away within 24 hours, and then put it back on the market as is, like 90,000 less than it's still sitting.
A cash value appraisal has no bearing on market.
No bearing.
value.
None. No, none.
Just,
No bearing
so
on
it's just for insurance.
It's the
Well, it's just for FEMA. It's really just for FEMA to establish the 50%, the structural value from which you can extrapolate that 50% that you need to stay under. Because what I saw in a lot of cases was a house that was, $1.4 million before, a single story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage block house on the water. That was $1.4 million, but the structural value was like $120,000. So that means they can only do $60,000 worth of work and repairs before they trigger that FEMA number, and you got to tear it down and go up or lift the whole house up, which is expensive as well. So you do that actual cash value appraisal, and it comes out maybe at 220, 210, 205, and it just gives you more room to work. I mean, it's so counterintuitive to say, I really want to spend more money, right? Show me how I can do it. But that's the way, because if you're trying to save your house, that's the way to do it. Cost of construction, that's been a frequent question. I've seen modular construction homes that are coastal rated in the upper 200s. I don't think that's a reality. Other ones in the $500 square foot range. I've been seeing builders quoting in the high threes for basic stilt homes per square foot, up to custom homes that are over $1,000 a square foot. You could probably address that better, but the numbers all over the place based on the finishes and amenities that you want. But for the people that have like an interior lot in the Reddingtons, Madeira, IRB, whatever, you're looking at, it's very safe to say it's going to cost you $400 to $500 a square foot to build a house from the ground up. You're going to need soil boring and all that stuff. What other questions you got? Market stuff, what's going on?
If you've heard any discussion from the taxing authorities or the municipality managers or anybody about, like, how are we going to get by on less?
Yeah, great question, because they've been fat, dumb, and happy for a while, right?
Don't you see some vacant lots being...
For sure, and we were all promoting that, get your tax credit, at least, yeah.
If not longer?
And if you have a tax year, during which your property is uninhabitable for more than 30 days, you have the right to appeal to the Pinellas County Taxing Authority, to Property Appraisal Office, to get to get a tax credit. Well, I mean, look at my building. It was worth probably $1 million when it was standing. Now it's a $500,000 or $600,000 lot, so half the taxes are gone right there, and it's going to be a while. So they're losing that revenue, and that was non-homesteaded. That was a high tax bill. So
less cops, less firemen, less garbage.
Yeah, so but I can tell you, I think that's what's changing some of the city's attitude about handing out permits lately too, especially on commercial property. They want to get the rental properties. They want to see you get back in there so they can start collecting those taxes. Yeah, the non-homesteaded ones seem to be going through a lot quicker right now. Where's the market going? I can tell you, I had a sales meeting today that I missed. For my own office to be here because I love you guys. But I do a thing about what's going on in the market, absorption rates and things. Pinellas County, the condominium absorption rate the last 30 days is 6%. 6%. That means we have 18 months, 19 months of inventory on the market right now. Ow. Remember a couple years ago, it was like 140%, which meant we had like 2 weeks of inventory on the market. We have like almost 20 months of 20 months. That's almost 2 years of inventory in the condo, and the prices are, they're terrible in the condos. Single-family homes in Pinellas County, the absorption rate just dipped below 20, right at 20%. 20% is considered balanced, right? That's 5 months of inventory on the market. So that's historically been a good number. For those of you that are newer in the business, you've been sipping wine and eating bonbons, watching houses fly off the market. That shit doesn't happen all the time. So that's a balanced market at 20%. So we're right there now. So now sellers are going to have to give concessions. Buyers can drive more bargains. We're seeing the list to sale price ratio widen. All those things are happening as part of a buyer's market. Plus factor in the finance costs with interest rates being what they are. Buyers are more price sensitive, so we're really seeing that push down just a little bit. Inventory is starting to stack up, both Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County condos are getting absolutely decimated right now. They lost about 25% on the absorption rate from last month to this month. Yeah, pretty rough. So that's what I got. Thank you. Yeah. There is good news. There's good news. I'm done. So that's the good news.
I want to thank Mike personally. I know everyone in this room. I know you're a super busy guy.
It's all good.
Super knowledgeable. Thank you so much.
Of course. Glad to be here. Anytime you need me. Anytime.